Turning 40 and returning to cycling, I remember as a child that I always wanted a bicycle, but my parents never bought me one until I was about 12 years old. I received it on my 12th birthday. It was metallic black and had silver writing. Sleek, shiny, fast, and it was mine. Finally, the drama. At the time, the kids at school were obsessed with yo-yos, and so the next day I rode down to the high street, downtown, and stopped at a shop that I knew sold toys and yo-yos. I had a cheap combination lock chain, but being young and stupid and way too trusting of my neighborhood, I just laid down the bike outside the shop as I went in. The yo-yo that I had purchased was transparent and had blue and red lights inside that flashed. It was fantastic. I then made my way outside, but the bike was gone. As this was the first time that something had been stolen from me and the fact that it was a recently received birthday present, I felt shocked, horrified, dismayed, and fearful. I started asking anyone that I saw around the shop if they saw my bike, but obviously everyone said no. I ran down the street looking frantically for the bike, but to no avail. It was never found. After about 45 minutes, I walked home extremely distraught and told my mom. She told me to tell my dad, as I found out that the bike was still being paid off monthly. I didn't get in big trouble, but the loss of the bike was the biggest punishment for my actions in itself for me, I guess. Second bike. If you're enjoying this story and would like to hear more, make sure you subscribe, like, share with a friend, and leave a comment. Now back to the story. As to be expected, years later when I was around 21 years old, I saw a bike that looked very similar to the one that I had owned, and I was compelled to buy it. I was so excited and felt a great sense of achievement and autonomy, as I could just buy it immediately, without having to be or get denied of having it. I rode it to work from Camden Town to New Bond Street every day through rain or shine, and I could safely lock it up behind the store where I worked. Life was good. Freedom, free exercise, and I had a replica of my beloved bike from my childhood that was stolen from me. My inner child was finally healed. I gave it away. I decided to move flats quite far away from where I was living, and the bike was one of the things that I thought would be too much to transfer to the new place. So randomly I decided to give the bike to a Polish girl who was living in my apartment. She was shocked and in disbelief. I felt healed, satisfied, and ready to let go. Later in life, I realized that I would do many things like this in the future, completing things from my childhood that were destroyed, stolen, or left undone. The big decision: I moved to Spain alone. By 2018, I had visited Spain almost every year, and I endeavored to visit as many cities as I possibly could. There I felt so free and happy. The slow pace of living, warm air, different smell in the streets, the language, the culture, the music and beaches, beautiful people, so on and so forth. I also had a love interest there as well and had managed to make a couple of friends. Not to mention that if you bought a beer, they would give you free food also. Tapas, what a dream. This would never happen in the UK, lol. So 2019 was the year that the UK finally left the European Union, and it put me in a state of shock and panic. The previous year, I had visited Valencia 2 times, just to be sure that I loved the city, because it was in 2018 that I started to think about moving to Spain. When February in 2019 came, I packed up the essential clothes and items that I needed, sold other items and quit my job, as well as giving notice to my landlord. That was it. I was leaving the UK for good. I was tired and stressed all the time. The rat race, delays and disruptions on public transport, the clouds and rain, constant union strikes and street protests. I was over it. Every time that I went to Spain, I always came back with the holiday blues, in addition to the fact that it was always hell to get holiday requests authorized when I wanted to go away. I started to think that I suffered from the SAD syndrome, seasonal affective disorder, and anemia because of the severe winter depression and pain in my bones due to the cold weather. All that went away whenever I was in Spain, a place in the sun. Finally, I had made it, and it was an amazing feeling. I was able to practice my Spanish every day. Strangers would say "Buenos dias" to me wherever I went, and it was fun initially staying in youth hostels until I had rented my first room in Valencia. After a few months, the tourist vibe wore off, and I had to focus on finding work as my credit cards were maxed out and I had no more savings. A friend at the time helped me to find online work as a freelance English teacher, and I did quite well with that for a while. Fitness paradise. When you go to Spain in general, you will notice that a large majority of the population are not overweight. The eating and drinking cultures are extremely different to the UK. Everything is in moderation, and there isn't a toxic, competitive feeling around who can drink the most pints in 1 hour. Meals are frequent but small, and people seem to be less stressed here. Although there are many problems right now in regards to illegal immigration, high youth unemployment and sky-high rent prices, people still are able to find the joy in their days. Third bike. Towards the end of the pandemic, Wuhan coronavirus COVID-19, which essentially lasted about 2 years, I found a job in a Chinese-run photo frame factory, and after the first year I decided to buy a black folding bike from Decathlon. Before then I wasn't doing any kind of exercise. The lockdown, lack of work, and the shared apartment where I was living had put me into a serious, deep depression. The new bike gave me a lease of life that I needed. I had forgotten the joys of cycling. I felt like that inner child had been woken up and set free once again. Life as an adult can be very heavy on the heart. We never know what it truly means to be an adult until we have the lived experience. Many kids wish to be older or an adult, but the truth is that they need to cherish the safety net that they have as kids and the given things that their parents do for them that they don't have to do or worry about themselves. I believe that we are all still children in our hearts and minds, but we are trapped in adult bodies. We are forced to behave like adults because of societal norms. The bike released my stress and I began to cycle every night after work at 10 p.m. It was fantastic. I felt like a child again. Fourth bike. Now we are at the present day, October 2025, and I just bought myself a second-hand mountain bike. Surprisingly, it's not metallic black with silver writing again, LOL, but it's dark blue with green and white writing. The lady was so kind that she reduced the price from €20 to €15, and I didn't even ask for a discount. She was bored, so we went to Mercadona supermarket and we bought some coffees and a Spanish omelette to share in the cafe. It was a great experience for my first time buying an item on the app Wallapop. Next scene. Cycling content creator phase. Now that I have 2 bicycles, I have more options: long distance riding and short distance, with the option of easy storage and less chances of the folding bike getting stolen, as this is a big problem in general around the world. I went from sitting on the computer for 10-15 hours every day to now cycling 3-4 hours every other day and having the time of my life. The online cycling community is fantastic and very engaging. Finally, I'm exercising again and associating myself with great people. Also, as many cities have rentable bikes, I can just go to most places and continue my hobby wherever I go, documenting my thoughts and filming my discoveries and adventures. Future bikepacking, bike touring plans. As mentioned earlier, the online cycling community is very inspiring, and you can find many middle-aged or even older people on their bikes providing motivation and inspiration. In the near future, I plan to cycle from Valencia to Benidorm, and then either Benidorm to Gibraltar or a different route to Gibraltar via bicycle. I may have to cheat on the first round and get a train halfway there, but it is better than nothing. Conclusion. The road is yours, and there's nothing like feeling the wind in your hair and speeding down the open road in the sun. Many people in the cycling community say that beginning to cycle is a form of therapy. It might sound silly, but it is a very common thought and feeling. You'll be happy to know that medical science backs it up in many ways. Not only is it good for your physical health, but it's great for your mental health too. It's something that can be done gently or aggressively according to your abilities and experience. Where will you cycle to next? Appreciation. So to close out, I would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to my partial and condensed memoir regarding my bike history journey, and I hope that it is inspiring, heartwarming, and motivational. Please subscribe to hear more of my perspectives, stories, and such. I really appreciate your feedback and engagement. Until next time, your pal, Tyrone Rodriguez, aka Cycle Roamer TV.